Welcome back to our series Build 50 plus Gen AI projects from scratch. Here's what we've achieved so far in this series. First, Text Summarizer. In our first project, we utilized the DistillBot CNN model to develop a text summarizer. This handy tool allows users to submit long pieces of text and instantly receive a concise summary, simplifying and speeding up their information intake. Second, YouTube Video Summarizer. For our second project, we developed a YouTube video summarizer using the DistillBart CNN model. By simply entering a YouTube URL, the model processes the video's content and provides a summary, allowing users to quickly grasp the main points without watching the full video. Third, Sentiment Analyzer. In our third video, we introduced a sentiment analyzer powered by the DistillBert-based uncased fine-tuned model. This tool not only evaluates the emotional tone of user reviews, categorizing them as positive or negative, but also displays this data through dynamic bar and pie charts, giving a visual representation of sentiment distribution, which is particularly useful for business insights. Multi-language translator. Our fourth project introduced a multi-language translator powered by the Facebook NLLB model. This tool allows users to easily translate English text into various languages through a simple drop-down menu selection, facilitating seamless translation into different languages. So, if you haven't watched my previous videos, I highly recommend checking out the playlist. Today, we're adding a question and answer module using the DeepSet Roberta-based Squad 2 model. This application allows users to upload documents and ask questions. The model then provides answers based on the uploaded document's context through a user-friendly Gradio interface. Okay, so let's get started. First, I'll open my PyCharm ID. Okay, and to start with, I'll first create a new folder. I'll give it a name, maybe Q&A. Okay, and I'll add a file, new Python file, and I'll give it a name document underscore Q&A. Okay, so my file has been created. Now, as we have been doing in our previous project, we are going to import some of the libraries. So I'll import Torch as well as Gradio. Okay, now I'll go to Hugging Face. So I'll just type Hugging Face and then I'll click on models, and this time we need to work on Q&A. So I'll select question answering, and this time the model that we are going to use for this particular project would be Roberta based Squad 2. Okay, you can see 1.02 million download it has and 644 likes. So this model is good. However, if you want to try, you can also try different models. If you want to understand about the model, you can click over here, and then you can get about the details, all those what this model is all about, and any additional details you want to know, right? So we are going to use this model, and if you have seen my previous videos, then you know that I'll be clicking on this. I'll click on transformer, and then I'll copy this code. Okay, I'll paste this code in my code file. Okay, so I have imported pipeline, and then this is the code that we have written. So this is the pipeline that we are using, and then this is the task, question answering, and then model that we are using. Okay, and if you are following me along and you have watched my previous videos, you know that as soon as I'll run this file, this particular model will start downloading on my local machine. So let's try that. Just for the time, to give it a more sense, I'll just change the name as question answer. Okay, let's run this. And as I mentioned, there are two ways of running this code. First one is either I can click on this icon, run icon, and there is another way where you will just click on this folder, right click, and then open in terminal, and then here I'll give it a name Python, and then file name. So here file name is document underscore Q&A.py. I'll press enter, and it in couple of seconds it should start downloading the file. Okay, so seems like my file has been downloaded. Okay, it was already downloaded in my case, that's why it didn't download it again. So I'll go back and copy that file. So I already have explained the file resides in C, uh, users, your username, then cache, inside cache Hugging Face, hub, and the model that we were talking about is this one, right? So I'll just cut it from here and I'll go to my code file. I will go inside my models. I'll right click. I'll click on open in Explorer. Okay, I'll go inside model and paste the model that I have copied from that cache folder, right? So when I go back to my project, I'll see that particular model appearing somewhere over here. So this is the one that we have just moved from cache folder to this folder, our local project folder. Okay, so I'll be creating, as we have been doing in our previous project, I'll be creating one model path variable wherein I'll be putting the local path. Okay, so to do that, we need to go to this model folder inside the snapshot and the alphanumeric folder name that you see. So you need to just copy it. So for copy path reference, and then you will be clicking on path from content root. Okay, and then I'll paste it over here. Okay, I'll just press enter just to make sure it is visible, and I will copy, I'll paste. I'm not removing this code, as you know that we'll be using, we also need to deploy it on Hugging Face, and Hugging Face, we cannot share our local folder details to Hugging Face, so it is required to have to, we will have to uncomment it before deploying our code to Hugging Face. So for now I'll just comment it, and here I'll give the model path. Okay, now let's try to run our code. So for running our code, it requires to have two parameters. First one is, let me do one thing. So I'll be passing two things. First one, so how it works basically, for this particular project, for this particular model, we will provide two different inputs. First one is, we will be providing context. Context means any kind of content that we want this model to understand, and once the, and along with that we'll be asking the question. So whatever questions are mentioned in that document, it will be answering based on that document, right? So let's try to do that, whether it is working fine or not. So I'll first create one variable. I'll give it a name as context. Okay, I'm sorry, and there is another variable that I'm going to create is question. Okay, so for the context, let me get some content from Wikipedia. So to do that, I'll go here, I'll click on Wikipedia, and I'll select any person. So this time I'll select maybe Mark Zuckerberg, and I'll just select maybe the first two paragraphs. Okay, and I'll paste it over here. So I pasted my content. Now in the question section, let me ask, who is Mark? Okay, so this is the something that is ready. Now I'll have to put something like, and I'll create one new variable, answer is equal to, and I already have explained about all these processes, so I'm not explaining each and everything. So I'll be calling the function, and this function basically accepts two parameter. First one is question, so inside question I'll give this question, and another parameter it accepts is context. So inside that context I'll be giving this context. Okay, so I am asking this model to give me the answer of the question that I have asked. Okay, using the context that we have provided, using this content that I already have provided to this model. Okay, so let's see whether it is working fine or not. So let's directly print answer. Okay, now let's try to run this code. I'll click on this icon, run icon. Let's wait for this process to happen. Okay, so again, I have not provided the correct path. If you remember, we need to go back one folder, right? So we need to add dot dot slash. That's what it is saying, right? Incorrect path or model ID. That's why it is not able to recognize the path, and that's why it gave me the model. So I've corrected the path. Let's try to run it again. Okay, so now as you can see, it has given me the answer that an American businessman, right? So it provided me the right answer, and it comes under so I'll say answer, and then inside this answer, right? So now rather than printing all these things, it should print the only answer that we are looking for. Okay, so as you can see, it is saying an American businessman. Let's see if it is able to answer what is the date of birth. Let's see whether it is able to understand this short form or not. 1984. It didn't give me the correct complete thing, but it gave me the 1984, right? As you can see, whatever answer question I'm asking based on this context, it is providing me the answer. Okay, let's try to integrate it with Gradio, and I already have explained how to do that. But again, quickly, for having it integrated with Gradio, I need to have one function. So I'll define one function, get answer maybe, and then inside this I'll be selecting these two lines, and rather than print, I'll return this one. Okay, so my function is ready. I do not need these two now because ultimately I will be using Gradio. So using UI will be providing the question as well as context, and then we will be getting the answer, right? So let me copy the code from my previous project. So it is file, maybe I just need okay. So I'll be entering over here. So inside function I'll give answer, right? And this thing should accept two parameter. First one is question and second one is context, right? Or maybe first I'll pass context and then answer. Okay, so sorry, context and question, because here we are going to provide two input boxes. First one is for context, so input your context. Okay, and context definitely would be more, so I'll give a kind of 10 line. Then we again need to add another text box for asking the question. Input your question. Okay, and I'll give it a line 1, and inside response we are just getting I mean in the response we just wanted to have the answer, right? And line I'll keep it as 1, mostly it is a short answer. And inside this GenAILearniverse project number 5, and now this is not our final project, we need to extend it. We will need to give some additional capability to the application. So rather than providing the context, user will have the option to upload the document, and whatever, and then user can ask the question based on whatever content we have provided in that document. Okay, but just to start with, I already have I mean this is the way we should be following, that whenever we complete one step, we should be testing it, right? So that at the end we do not get a lot of issues. It's always good to complete one step, test it to make sure everything is working fine as expected. So I'll mention as document Q&A. Okay, this application will be used to answer questions based on context provided. Okay, so everything should work fine. Let's try to see if it is working fine or not. For now, I'll be commenting these two lines. Okay, now let's run it. And before commenting, maybe what I can do is I will just copy the context so that we do not need to copy it again. Okay, let's run it. Oh, sorry, I missed something, right? And then that was that demo.launch. I didn't include that line because that is the line basically is responsible for launching and creating the URL. So I'll just put demo.launch. Okay, now let's run it again. Okay, so as expected, it created one URL for me. So I'll click over here and my context is ready. All right, so I have given the context and I'll ask the question as who is Mark, and see what it responds. An American businessman, right? So you got the answer from this. So my first basic application is ready when you will pass the context, and then whatever question you'll ask, it will provide you the answer, right? Okay, so now let's move to our next step. So as I mentioned, as a next step, what we need to do is we need to pass the what I call it, we need to pass the document. We will provide the document, and then basis that document, whatever questions we'll ask, it should be responding to our queries. Okay, so let's try to do that. And for doing that, what I'm going to do is, again, I'll go to ChatGPT and ask to give me the code to read the document and save the content in a variable. Okay, so let's try to do that. Could you please write a Python function that takes file as an input and provide the content and return the content of that file. Okay, let's see. Okay, it is giving me the file path, but I want to have file object, not the path. Okay, so file object, it has given me the code, right? So let's try that. I will be copying the code and then I'll paste it inside this function, inside this code. And so here it says read file content file object, and then it reads the content and then return the content, right? So that's, it looks fine. Now for this use case, what I want to do is I will be asking to provide the file, right? So I'll be asking to provide the file and then it will be giving me the output. Okay, so what I'll do is I will gr.file, okay, label is equal to input your, upload your file, and then answer text project 5 document Q&A. So now this thing should accept, rather than passing the content, we are sending the file. So rather than using context, we will be sending the file. For getting the context, we will be calling the function that ChatGPT just provided. Okay, so I'll be copying this function and then I will put it over here, and then inside this I'll be passing file. Okay, so let's understand again what I'm trying to do. So inside Gradio, what I have done is I will be uploading one file that will contain that will have some content, right? And then again I'll be passing input question as an input, right? So this function takes two parameter, file and question, right? But for this model to work, we need two parameters. One is question, second is context. So ideally we also need the context. From where we will be getting the context is nothing but the content that we have in the file. So what we are saying is read file content, and then inside that we will passing the file object. So ideally we should be getting the context from here, then we should be getting the answer, and the answer should be displayed over here. Okay, so let's try to see whether it is working fine or not. But before that, let me ask chat gpt to write a story, small story for me. Could you please write a small story about friendship between machine and a man and a boy? That's it. Okay, so it has started writing the story for me. So why I'm writing the story, I just will pass this as a content to give an idea that okay, whether it is able to work fine or not, right? Whether it is able to give the answer based on the content or not. So let's wait for this to happen, and in the meanwhile let me run the code. So I will again run this code. Okay, the URL has been generated. So here, as you can see, now it is, rather than asking for the context, it is asking me to upload the file. Let's see my answer is ready or not. So it is still writing, but it is too big. So I'll just copy the partial part of it. I'll just copy it, and then I'll create a new text file, maybe new text file story, and I'll paste the content whatever I have copied. Okay, so let's upload that file and see whether it is able to answer the question from that file or not. So I'll just select story, and there was one person, Max, right? So what kind of person Max is? Let's see what kind of response it gives. I'll click on submit, and it says curious and adventurous, right? So you can see, right, in our story it is something that was mentioned. Max was curious and adventurous, right? So it gives me the similar kind of response. This is a kind of giving me a kind of very summarized response. However, you can change some parameter using which you can also get the detailed response. Also, you can change the model if you want to change the way it responds, or if you want to make changes in if you want to get the answer in a different manner. So every model has different kind of functionality that you can go through, and whatever model suits well for your use case, you can apply that. Okay. In the last part of this video, we are going to deploy our changes to Hugging Face, so we can share our work as well as our GenAI learning with anyone we want. So to do that, I'll go to Hugging Face, and I'll click on spaces, and I'll create a new space, and I'll give it a name, for example doc Q&A. I'll select the license as Apache 2.0. I'll select Gradio because we are using Gradio, and then I'll leave other settings as is, and I'll click on create space. Okay, right now as you can see, it is showing me configuration error. So this is something that you might also face while you are trying to deploy or change on Hugging Face, and this is basically a error on Hugging Face, but we can resolve it. This happens because our readme.md file, it says, is not correctly configured. So let's see how to fix that. I'll go to readme.md file. So I see only there are only two properties added, right? But we are expecting some more properties. So to do that, I'll go back to my previous projects that I have worked upon that worked fine. I'll click on maybe this one, and I'll go to files. I'll select readme.md file. So I already have title and license, but rest every other details were missing. Okay, so I'll just copy it from here. I'll go back to my project, that the same one that I just have created, .qna. I will go to files, click on readme.md and click on edit, and then I'll add the remaining properties, right? So whatever were missing from this file, I just have added that. Maybe if I want to change the emoji, I'll select to something else. I'll select this one. Okay, and then I will, if I want to change the color, I can also change the color. I'll click it as purple maybe. Okay, and I'll click it and I'll click on commit changes to main. Let's see. As you can see, there is no error as such now, so it is saying no application file. So for that, I'll be creating all those files that was required. And if you have seen my previous videos, you know what all files we are going to include here. So I'll click on files, click on add files, create new files. So first file that we are going to create is requirements.txt. When we will be adding all the libraries that is required. So I'll add transformers, I'll add torch, and I'll add Gradio. Okay, and I will click on commit new file to main. Now I'll add another file that is app.py. I already have explained all these things in my previous videos, so you can, if you have any problem understanding why I'm creating that, please watch the previous videos that I have created in this series. Now I'll go back to my code base, and as I have mentioned earlier, since Hugging Face will not have the access on our local model path, so I'll have to comment this particular line, and I'll uncomment this line. Okay, this is the only change that I'm going to do before deploying our change to Hugging Face. I'll copy this code and I'll paste it in this file. Okay, and I'll click on commit new file to main. I'll click on app and it should start building my application. It will start installing all the libraries, start compiling my code, and if everything goes fine, it will load my application. So let's wait for that to happen. So it says build fail. Let's see what went wrong. Okay, so as you can see, I have given the wrong spelling of transformer. That's why this error came. So let me go back and correct that. So I'll go to requirements and then I'll click on edit and I'll change the spelling transformers. So I have, okay, so I have changed the spelling now. I'll again click on commit changes to main. I'll again go back to app and again it will start building my application, and let's see, in couple of seconds or maybe a minute it should load our application, if in case it doesn't find any other compilation error. So let's wait for that to happen. Okay, perfect. So my application has been loaded, so I'll close this window, and again the same thing, everything has been loaded. GenAILearniverse project 5 document Q&A and every other details whatever we have coded is now appearing perfectly fine. So I'll click on click here to upload. So I'll click here, then I'll select the same file, the story file, and then I'll ask the question. Let's see what are the other questions we can ask. So factory, always seek a new experience. One sunny afternoon while exploring an old abandoned factory. And okay, so let's see, let me ask the question, where Max find the machine. Okay, so this is the question that I'm asking. Let's see. Okay, as you can see, an old abandoned factory. So it has given me the response, right? So that way you can also create your own, you can upload your own document and then you can get the answers. As you can see, the answer is short. So you can change different parameters. Just go through the documentation using which you can also expand this answer, or maybe you can try different models if you want to have a different kind of output, right, in response. So if you are following along, again congratulations, you just have completed your 5th GenAI project. Please hit the like button if you like this video. Also consider subscribing this channel. Thank you so much. Happy learning.